I'm Eric Hayden.
I'm Nick Mason.
And this is Neon Static. Welcome to episode 20 of Neon Static. It's our 20th episode, Nick.
It is. We are 1/5 of the way to a meaningful milestone.
Don't cheapen it.
No, I'm not cheapening it. I'm recognizing the actual position.
1/5 of the way there, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have some cool stuff in store for you. Despite this episode being unimportant and insignificant, we went to Worlds, and we are going to talk about what happened along the way, the friends we made, etc., the feelings we felt.
That is what we're going to talk about. And also, I don't know, some rules stuff maybe.
And then we'll talk about what's next for Neon Static. Ominous. Stick around, you'll find out. Before we get into the episode, we want to thank our patrons whose support is helping us build a better show. If you want to help support the podcast or YouTube channel, check out patreon.com/neonstatic. And that's where you can help financially wise.
Exactly. So, we're going to skip 24/7 news cycle because there's like no news. Nothing big has happened since we last recorded, right?
Definitely not. We're not going to do a proper 24/7 news cycle, but the main headline is Arzon is the 2024 World Champion of Netrunner, and congrats. Hats off to him.
Yeah, that deck is sick as hell, and the play of the deck and the other. Well, I'm mostly talking about Ari, but you know,
he did play
both
two
of the decks. Well, yeah, I was going to say also the other deck, sick as hell. Watch that stuff on stream, guys, because stuff was tense.
Yeah, especially the game that he was in with Den B before he was like in the finals. I believe it was day 2. I'm not sure. I have to. We'll link it in the description. But Spree happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I somebody spreed at me recently, and it did not feel good when they had finished. Spreed all over me.
I spreed all over you, yeah.
And it did not feel great when like you were done with the part where you run all 3 centrals and you still had 4 clicks.
Yeah. 0 clicks spent, and here we are. I'm going to click 1 deep dive.
Yep.
Super gross.
Yep.
Well, we're going to move along, and that means I will let's go to spec work.
So in spec work today, we have a question from TAC.
From like months ago.
Wait.
And it wasn't to us. I should be clear. I just saw this on the GLC and took a screenshot and buried it down at the bottom of our like episode outline document and forgot about it entirely. And then we rediscovered it. So we're going to talk about it. It's cool. And we met TAC at Worlds.
So anyway, this is an interesting question. You have 2 ice on R&D. Outermost is a Tattoo Bola. Tattoo Bola says, when the runner passes this ice, you may swap it with a piece of ice from HQ. If you do, gain 4 credits. The runner is playing Kit and has Inversificator installed. So Inversificator is a code gate that says the first time each turn...
It's a decoder.
It's an anti-code gate.
There you go.
It's a code gate
breaker.
pass. It's a code gate pass.
Got it.
It's a key. The first time each turn you pass a piece of ice after an encounter during which this program fully broke that ice. You may swap it with another installed piece of ice. The idea here is Kit has run at the Tattoo Bola. Kit transforms it into a code gate, which allows you to fully break it with Inversificator. Then Inversificator fires, moving the Tattoo Bola inward, right? Just 1 space inward. So classic Kit surfing with Inversificator. The question then is, does Tattoo Bola still fire the on-pass ability?
Because the question, right, like, did you still pass the Tattoo Bola? Because the Tattoo Bola moved right after the runner passed. And now it's the corpse turn to do their thing on the on-pass ability, but it's moved. So did you pass it?
Right. Or has it like by the time, or is it like looking at it twice basically, where like the runner passes it, triggers their thing, and then you're not currently in the process of passing that ice. You're passing some other piece of ice that you've now swapped.
I can see where the confusion comes from because there's other things in the game like on encounter abilities where if the runner fires their on encounter ability and it's like on encounter bypass this ice, right? And then you look to the corpse turn, it says on encounter do something bad. Well, they're no longer encountering it, so it doesn't count and it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a precedent for like things just disappearing. Anyway, let's hear what Cephalopod Wizard said, who is a member of the NSG rules team.
So, yes, if you pass Tattoo Bola, it doesn't matter if it ended up somewhere else, you still passed it. There were some FFG interpretations of passing ice that were tied to the position the ice is in, not the piece of cardboard that you can swap around. But that's not how it's interpreted these days. There doesn't appear to be anything, at least from what Cephalopod Wizard said, immediately in the core rules, or comprehensive rules, excuse me. But there is now a ruling on Inversificator. But yeah, no, that's interesting because, yeah, the bypass thing definitely seemed counterintuitive to me. And like even this, it makes me wonder because, yes, you have passed that piece of ice, but like I still encountered the piece of ice.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like this when you pass this ice thing is on a stack, if you know Magic terminology.
Yeah, it has a memory.
But on encounter doesn't.
Yeah.
That's a little weird, right?
I'd like to understand what sets those two apart. Because they're very similar and one behaves totally different than the other. I don't know. I propose, since I know that Cephalopod Wizard is a listener and usually chimes in with some cool, whenever we talk about rules, I usually see some very in-depth and thoughtful comments below our YouTube videos that get uploaded. So if you're on YouTube or want to know more, check in the comments below. I bet Cephalopod Wizard will be giving us an explanation as to why these two things behave differently.
Yeah, I would be interested in that.
I'm committing his time to this cause. All right, let's move this podcast along.
Let's do it. Let's talk about Into the Depths.
We are in the depths. Worlds has occurred. What? Say you were doing a joke about the depths?
Nope. I was just going to acknowledge that we had moved into them.
We're here. Worlds occurred. And yes, White Blade, we went to it. We went to Worlds.
Correct. We did.
White Blade doesn't listen to this.
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's a callback to YouTube.
All the possible streams for the past like 4 months.
Just, hey, are you guys going to Worlds? And then what did he say on our first one back? He said he popped in and said something about like, oh no, like he said like, oh, it was nice to see you at Worlds or something. I was surprised that it wasn't, hey, are you guys going to Worlds next year?
Yeah.
You know, something like that. But yeah, it was an absurd amount of fun. Honestly, I feel like I didn't take like as full advantage of it as I could have because there were so many like side events and stuff that looked cool that I didn't participate in.
Well, you know, you had that new Marvel Snap mode that came out, so.
Oh, yeah. Very important. Very important. No, really, it was just that I was like completely burned out like on
it's a lot.
Socialization and sleep lacking and all this other stuff. It just, yeah.
Like, we got up pretty early for the flight out, and so
yeah,
I could see just kind of being burnt out. Plus, you watched all of Dune on the flight over there, all the new Dunes.
Yeah, but
that's a lot of Dune.
That energized me.
Did it? I thought it would have wiped you out because of all the.
Well, I could barely hear it because I was listening to it on terrible headphones.
That's true.
on the plane.
Those handouts.
Yeah, exactly. Not like Eric, who brought his studio quality headphones and sat on the plane with them.
It's funny. I got a message from Andre like the night before. He's like, "What am I forgetting to pack?" And I was like, "Good headphones for the plane for listening to movies." He's like, "Don't they hand those out?" I was like, "Yeah, if you want trash."
Yeah. Yeah. So Andre gets the advice, and Nick gets to kind of hear the soundtrack to Dune.
That's okay. It gets repetitive after a while.
But yeah, no, like there was so much stuff there and so much I wanted to do, and I am old and do not have the energy to do everything that I would have liked to do. So
we encouraged you to do some stuff.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
it was that night where you were all tie-tie, and then we were like, we're gonna go walk to get a 6-pack of beer somewhere, and you walked. Good for you.
Yes. Well, no, I meant with people who I didn't fly there with.
That
like I was like, oh, I should definitely like find time to like go out to like one of the big dinners or like something like that. And instead, I went home and took a nap.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say this in defense of not going out to big dinners. I mean, well, so first of all, there was a meet and greet which we went. Andre and Derek and I went to, and you were sleepy. Should we Should we walk through like our trip? Like timeline wise at all?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure.
So first day was Wednesday, I want to say. We flew out. It was extremely early. I don't know if anybody's seen that YouTube video, but it was very dark in the morning.
Yeah. We posted a travel vlog on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, it's fun. Check it out.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, like 7 hours in a plane and everything. And like, then we got there and I basically just collapsed immediately.
It was Thursday, not Wednesday.
That time's a flat circle.
For reference.
I'm just going to keep saying it. So, all right. So that was Thursday. And then I passed out. You guys, what did you do? What did you do?
Well, we got some food. We met up with Andre eventually because his flight was delayed. He and I went to the venue and helped set up some stuff for the stream. We helped set up lights and cameras and things like that. And he ran out and got some cables. We left from there to go to the meet and greet, the local event organized by people like Sinchling and TAC, which was at a combination Indian restaurant Irish pub called Kennedy's.
Yeah, which
it's a combination.
I have so many questions about it.
It's legal to put those two foods in one building.
Like,
you can do it.
Like, was it just like potato curries, like aloo tiki and stuff? Like, it
was like two businesses that were like, hey, let's just share a building.
Got it. Okay.
That's you could order from either of them.
So it's like when you ever been to one of those that's like a Taco Bell on one side, and yeah, exactly. Okay,
it was one of those.
See, I thought this was actually a fusion restaurant when everyone was describing it to me. So I was like,
weird.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out: is it like Guinness beef curry? Is that a thing? Guinness sauce, but with curry? Yeah,
you spoke it, so now it is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that was cool. We got to meet. There's a back room where they've been having their local meetups, and I guess it's not usually quite as big as it was this time because there was lots of people in from town, and it was technically a official side event. So we got some Vicerums for going to it. But they have a back room where I guess a bunch of Magic players have been playing since like the early 2000s, and some Netrunner players caught wind of it and started going there on Thursdays. And it was like their local meetup night. And so they said, hey, just come by and say hi. And that back room filled up. There was over 40 players in the back there, I think. And it spilled out into the main area. Eventually people were, ordering dinner and playing Netrunner on mats. I got to play a game with Solomir and White played, and then kind of just met people and talked and stuff. We came back to the room and you were just like dead to the world.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, no, I like went out. I went to like found a Trader Joe's, got some like granola bars and stuff for mid-game snacks. I told myself, I'm feeling like pretty awake now. I'm just going to go back to the room. I'll sit down for just a second, just put my feet up for just a moment. And then I'm going to head out to this venue. I'm going to like get a cab or something, get an Uber. Then I woke up and it was like 9 or 10, I think, and you guys were getting back. And then I proceeded to sleep straight through to the morning. It was glorious.
So then Friday was Crown of Service Day. Anyway, we ended up over there. We had some decks. You played the same decks for both, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to get more reps in with everything. I was originally like trying to find something like kind of silly to play because Crown of Servers is not like, people were playing some wild stuff that they like intentionally did not take to the main event. So, which was actually pretty cool.
So what were you on?
I was running the Ice Melter Hushko with Crew and Devil Charms and things like that, and Turtle as the only real breaker. And then a King-making Asmari combo deck, both of which were really fun. I found that the Hushko deck ended up being like very draw dependent. I felt like if I didn't get Patchwork or Amakua early, I had real issues. And they didn't really have a way to tutor for it or like a ton of draw in the deck. So it was a little iffy on that. And I think I could have solved that with more reps, but I like doing other things sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
we're a variety house here, We
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. So
I was on Rotom Appliance PD and Amakua Falsified Credential Lap, which was like adapted Cobra Bubbles Lap to put an Amakua in it. And Derek was on, I was Shaper.
He was running.
So he was criminal. He was
running his same list.
419.
Yeah. So it was a 419 Econ Denial, mostly just like value pile kind of stuff, but also it had Mining Accident.
It's the Mining Accident slightly modified from the list that's popular in Canada.
Yeah, his description of it was basically that he cut out all of the cute stuff and just put in more money and card draw.
Got it. And then he played Ganked Ag.
Yes, Ganked Ag Infusion, which, led to some pretty amazing points. Like blowouts, and just, he dragged someone through 7 Anansis in the same turn.
Yeah, that's a lot of Anansis to break in one turn. And they survived it, right? They didn't die.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. But that's kind of backbreaking.
They were broke. I mean, even with like they were on some sort of like turbine rig. So breaking everything for like 3 credits, but that's still 21.
So do you remember notable games? I mean, like I actually went through and I had to like reconstruct my record. I did eventually figure out that I went 5, 4, and 1. So I think I technically had the best record out of all of us because I tied in one round. By a tie. Derek had like 5, 5. I think he went 5, 5.
Did we play 10 rounds in that? Oh, that's right. Because it was double-sided Swiss. That's right. So yeah, I think I went 3 and 7. It wasn't great,
That's okay. You were practicing. You were warming up.
Exactly. But
we came in 40th. It was out of like 60 something teams.
Yeah.
But I felt like we were in the running until like maybe the last round. That's what it felt like to me.
I remember that the games that I had were a ton of fun. It was great to like meet people, but I didn't have any like amazing moments aside from like seeing my opponent's cool decks was more fun there than my own plays and stuff like that. So like I saw a Jemison deck that absolutely wrecked me. I got entirely time walked by, I forget how I lost the first 2 clicks, like hypoxia or something like that. And then false lead to lose the other 2. And that basically allowed my opponent to take 2 turns in a row. And turns out if you do that, pretty good odds you win the game.
Sweet. I went through and I remembered at least the team names of the people that we played against. Round 1 was Whatever is Fine. Team Whatever is Fine. I played against Plural, which was PD versus Sable, and then Lap versus... I guess I won't go through everything, but he was on a PE, like a core damage PE deck, which was down to the last... I think there was core damage in it. And it was down to the last possible card in my deck. I had no cards left in deck, and I stole a Fuji. So that was kind of the biggest moment, I think, of the day for me right off the bat.
Wow, yeah.
I did get almost triple knifed by 2 different Sable decks. I played 3 Sables in a row, and the first one was Plurals was not on knife, I think. And then the second and third were, and I almost got knifed. It was like a credit short on one game and a click short on the other.
Wow.
So those were both very fun and exciting games. The second team was New Jankali's City Grid, and I played against Teo, who is a player who I've known from Mansion Runner, which is pretty fun. And that was the first game where I almost got knifed. And round 3, we played Disorganized and Last Minute, and that was where I got to play Hideyoshi on like Saraswati Mnemonics and another Knife Sable.
Yeah, in that round, I made a very confident but extremely incorrect statement, which turned out to be kind of a theme for me on the weekend. At one point, my opponent played, I forget what the agenda was. Oh, the vulnerability audit, the 4/3 that can't be scored on the same turn.
Yeah.
And I informed that person that it had rotated because that was an FFG card. And then I looked at the card again and I was like, that's not an FFG card. That's an NSG border. What's wrong with me? Because I had mistook it for Global Food Initiative. So yeah, that was fun.
Round 4 was Team EDM. In this round, I played against Phil, and I lost both games. That was my first time when I got swept. And I just failed to do math twice. It was very disheartening. There was like a turn when I was trying to break, and I decided I could do a trick shot run and could get into the server. And I just like failed to count how many credits it would take my revolver to break something or to break a brawn. I think I was breaking a brawn. And I was just like a credit too short because I just didn't count. I couldn't count to 7. Oh, and then like the Corp game, I thought that I was fine to let Phil just steal an agenda. And it was the winning agenda. And I was like, oh, I can't count to 7.
Yeah.
Good game. Like,
yeah. I had the opposite.
You failed to count to 7 too. Yeah.
Yeah. That was on day 1. I scored a king making from hand and declared victory. And then my opponent said, isn't that 6 points? And I said,
that's 6.
Well, it's your turn then. Your turn begins.
Which is such a bad sign when you're like,
oh,
usually
God, it
you
was
kind
terrible.
of you're like, I don't care what happens after this when you win because you win. And then when it turns out you didn't win, usually it's bad.
Right. Yeah, no. That was like, all right, I got the win here. I can go shields down. I don't need to think about next turn because I'm going to win right now. This is going to be, oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah, it's bad for you. And the last round was against the Truck Shoots, who I feel bad. This is the team I think I got into Netrunner exhaustion mode, and I don't really remember much about the game that we played. I think I split. I don't remember the name of my opponent. I feel quite bad. So if you're on the Truck Shoots, leave a comment and tell me who you were. Reach out. I would love to remember.
I believe I lost both of those games, and I know I lost one of them because it was the Jemison game.
Yeah, I think I lost to a Ken. The player was, okay, I'm remembering. The player was on Ken. It was like a value prepaid voice pad, tons of run event Ken. And I just got overwhelmed with value eventually. I thought PD was going to go too fast for that, and then I couldn't find agendas. And I don't remember my lat game. I think I lost the PD game, but I won the lat game. I'm pretty sure we split, and that Derek split, and then you got swept. And we were like, damn it, Nick.
Yeah.
Because I was focused on top halving, because it was the only prize that I wasn't going to just get as being part of the volunteer team. And the prize was the business as usuals, which is something we'll come back to later. In fact, let's come back to now. At some point, was it the following day?
Yeah. It was on
the following
day.
I had talked about how, like, man, that's the prize that I really wanted to get that. And it's the only thing that I actually needed to work for to get. And at some point, Derek on the next day just walks up to me and hands me a set of business as usuals. And I was like, how did you get these? What is this? And he had seen on the take an alt, leave an alt table. That is a thing that happens at Worlds usually. You know, it's a table off to the side where it got seeded with a bunch of random alt arts. And the idea is you see something you want. If you have cards to trade, you put a set of 3 things down and you pick up a set of 3 things and you can do trades that way without being in person. And he walked over and found a set of the business as usuals and didn't have any cards to trade because he didn't come prepared for that. So he ran over to the artist colony, which is, where they sell alt arts, just bought something and went over to the table, put it down, and took the business as usuals for me. He just like walked over to me and gave them to me. Which
he's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. And he was like, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anyone I was nice. So, joke's on you, Derek. Teach you to be nice. I'm going to tell everybody in the podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have done
this. A good person.
Yeah, sucks. So that was Crown of Servers. What did we do after that?
After that, we got tacos.
Oh, yeah. We got tacos and margaritas.
Yep.
And you and I played a game of Netrunner in the room over a couple of beers that we got downstairs.
It was kind of a messy game, I would say.
It was silly and it was fun. I think Andre was out with the snare bears. Okay, so that takes us through Friday. Saturday was day one of the main event. Let's pause because I feel like we're going to cover more of that. First of all, before we get into the events of the actual tournament, were you apprehensive at all about going to Worlds originally? Or are you like psyched?
No. So I was worried that if I did poorly in the event, it was going to like ruin my whole weekend. So I was actually like nervous about doing well, not because I like wanted to do well, but because I knew that if I were like absolute bottom tables and won one or two games in the main event, I would be an unpleasant person to be around just because like I flew all this way and I can't even play this stupid game. Oh, I'm so bad.
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking because like we had a bad showing when we went to Philadelphia East Coast Nats 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still had a great time on that trip, but I remember feeling like pretty salty after placing like, I don't know, 40th out of 50 people or something. I forget exactly where I was, but it was pretty bad. Like we both placed quite low. And I remember thinking before I knew I was going to do comms, the idea of going to Worlds, I got to get better at the game if I'm going to go and spend all this money and time and effort to go play a card game. And I know that lots of people just go to have a social time, but I've learned about myself, at least, that I need to do kind of okay.
Yeah, that's like basically where I ended up. And it's funny that you bring up the Nats experience because my response there was far more chill just because I had, I think, only just gotten into standard at that point, like moved over from startup. Whereas you had a lot more familiarity with the card pool and stuff. And I'm like, oh, boom, huh? How does this work?
Yeah.
So like I had a general idea that those cards existed, but I had just like grabbed some net decks and gone. I don't even remember what I played on the corp side. It might have been PD, but I know I played a surfer kit and like I was just there like, you know, whatever. I won a couple games. I think I had set my goal as win one game on each deck, basically.
Yeah.
Like that was my goal.
Yeah.
I met that and
no
it was
pressure.
fine. Yeah, basically. Like I just wanted to like, I don't know, meet a bunch of people and hang out and that succeeded. And then I got some really good Jamaican chicken. It was great.
That's true. So for Worlds, did you have any goals that you actually set for yourself? I don't remember what you settled on, if you had goals or not, and if you met them.
I did. So I had set the real world IDs, which was top half, and I did not meet it by one game.
You were so close to meeting it.
So
close.
I was in terms of numbers. I don't think that the games that I lost. So there's a point in our like travelogue where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm 5-3. And I went on to lose the next 3 games and thus not meet the goal. And I don't think there was a point in any of those games where I was like reasonably comfortable.
You didn't make some critical mistake that you were like, oh, I had it, but now I lost it.
I mean, maybe I did, but I just didn't know what the mistake was kind of thing. But yeah, it wasn't like, you know, those games where you're like, oh crap, I just spent my last click and I left that tag floating. And then like your whole game plan blows up.
Right.
That wasn't what happened in those last 3 games. It was more like just I'm digging for patchwork and turtle, or I interact with an agenda at the wrong time and get blown out by punitive or something like that. Or, Or like I'm not familiar with the opponent's deck and they blow me out with something. I remember I played against one of the core damage sports metal decks, and like I just wasn't really prepared for playing against that. It's not a matchup I'd practiced at all, so I had like a vague idea of how it worked.
Yeah, that's a very unique kind of deck. We haven't seen a whole lot of that outside of East Coast Nationals and like one or two other events that had them do pretty well.
It's like that kind of thing. So like, yes, technically I only needed one more win in there, but like I feel like in each of those games I was not very close, if that makes sense. And like I'm not salty about that. That was just kind of my assessment, was like we sat down, we played the game, and there was no point where I was like, I almost had it, you know?
Did you come away from that experience jazzed to get better at competitive Netrunner, or are you like, that was fun and you're like cool where you are right now?
No, I definitely want to get better. And it's funny because I have voiced some mild dislike of the secrecy and that kind of stuff in the meta.
Voiced some mild dislike.
We
have been openly like, I don't like it. It is bad.
Yeah, but like I'm not on a crusade like I am to get Bugalter unbanned.
Well, that's right. We never mentioned our team name was Bugalter did nothing wrong.
That is true. Yes, no, that is a true thing. We did make Jeff say that repeatedly,
and he on microphone said, "I disagree with that" when he was reading all the names. He didn't react to all the names. In fact, very few. So I felt proud of that. I was like, we got Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. At the same time, this experience showed me why people do it, because I got so much mileage out of the fact that I was playing a king-making Asmari deck and everyone was expecting the kill Asmari deck.
Right.
And just like gave me 3 or 4 turns to score my first king-making, which is the hardest part of that deck, is getting set up and being able to score the first king-making, after which things get a lot easier. I just had a big gap there where they were like, all right, I got to try really hard not to die. And yes, I think that's an agenda, but I can't afford to touch it right now, you know?
Right. And I think Rapanui called that out specifically in his blog when he talked about the game that you two had.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely, it left me wanting to get better. It also left me understanding a bit more about why the more competitive players approach things the way that they do, in terms of like small testing groups, or small-ish, I suppose, not completely open testing groups, let's say, and also not public with what they're planning to play and what they're brewing, ideas that they have for what the meta is going to look like.
Why don't you regale us? I don't want to walk through every single matchup of the day for you because we just won't have the time. But can you walk us through some memorable moments from your games on the standard tournament day?
Yeah. So the first one I want to talk about, Chronologist. There we go. So I'm playing this as Mari deck. It draws a ton. We were getting close to time, I believe. My deck was down to like 4 or 5 cards at this point. And I was down, my opponent was on 6 points. I was on 4. So I was pretty far down. He just needed to touch any agenda and the game ended. And I managed to do the full 11 credit combo to score a king-making with a 1-pointer to go to 6. So now we're tied at 6, but I have 0 money. And I have 2 cards in my deck. And I believe I knew for a fact that, well, I should have known for a fact that one of them was an agenda.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is, with 0 money, somehow keep my opponent out of R&D.
Jeez.
Right. Easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
So, and also then luck draw into the 50-50 to draw the agenda that I can actually score from hand somehow, right, with no money.
With a huge hand size, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah, I had 1 billion cards in hand. But I was looking specifically for the 2-1 post-truth dividend.
Yep.
Because I could actually score it from hand on relatively cheap. So my opponent played Finality. Right? Yeah. And he's getting in, and I...
Clean sweep of R&D.
Yes, exactly. And I'm looking at my board and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I had like a rezzed Spin Doctor, and I'm like, okay, well maybe I just like shuffle stuff back into like, but it's still going to see 4 cards. It's still going to see all the cards. And then I realized that I had an unrezzed Spin Doctor too. So
That seems important.
I rezzed that Spin Doctor.
But then if you res it, and if your turn starts, you die, right? So
except it's a Spin Doctor.
yeah.
So I can just put cards back to a draw so I don't die.
Nice. Yeah.
So I res the new Spin Doctor, draw the last 2 cards. Finality sees 0 cards. It also, because I have named event, gives me 2 credits, which is exactly what I needed to score the 2-1 from hand to win the game. Like right before time was called.
Nice. So you, at the end of the turn, spin something back in so you don't die to the draw.
Exactly. Yeah, just spin 2 random cards in.
And then you just go, it's all advance. And credit perfect. Yeah,
exactly.
That's very
credit
good.
Perfect 2 turns in a row.
Wow.
Right? So I went from 11 to 0, then to 2 to 0, and both times it scored me an agenda from hand. So
nice.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so that was round 2 versus Chronologist.
And then the other one, I am actually having a hard time identifying which round this was. I think it might have actually been during Crown of Servers. I have a note about the game. I was playing against an Asa kill deck, and my opponent got set up and went to Punitive Counterstrike me. And I had 4 cards in hand and a little bit of money, but not much. My opponent was also kind of broke too, because I'd been keeping up the pressure with trashing ice and just keeping servers open.
Asa kill deck, did you say?
Yes. Yeah. That's
Asa group.
That's one of the reasons why I believe it was. I'm going off the notes that I have in my phone.
Yeah.
Was that
weird.
It was an Asa kill deck. But in any event, the turn ended up being that they played the first Punitive and hit 3 cards, one of which was a strike fund. And the 2 credits off of the strike fund were enough to throw off their math so that they couldn't kill me with the second one. So because I could just pay through it.
Strike funds are like steel skins for Punitive.
But like far more limited, because it's only if they're like
very niche,
right on the border of being able to actually kill you with the trace.
Yeah.
And this was one of those few times. I think it even came down to like, because I had accessed a card, the fact that I had the 1 link from Hoshko, that was like the big key. Was the 2 money from Hosh helped, but the link I think was like the big difference, because they ended up having to pay an extra money each time if they wanted to kill me, so it added up.
Very good.
Yeah, it was, and then I ended up going on to win that, but like it really was down to, I had like 1 strike fund in hand, and if they had hit, if that had been the 1 card left over after the first Punitive, I would have been sad.
If you are listening to this person who is piloting an Asa group kill deck, please let us know what that deck looked like. Very curious.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure I trust the notes that I had, but that's what my notes say happened. So
yeah. Okay.
So those are like the 2 from either side. I have a couple of other places, mostly on the kingmaking side, where I got to do some cool stuff.
You did have that one moment where you scored to 6 and said, I win.
Yep.
And your opponent said, I count 6 points. I was watching over your shoulder when that happened.
Yeah.
And I saw you play the Biotic in your hand, and I went, no.
What are you doing?
No,
what
you
are
can't
you
do
doing?
that yet, Nick. And I didn't say it. I was just in my head going like, I don't know what he's doing. And then you go like, I win. And I was like, oh, you thought you were done.
Yep.
Pretty
scored.
fun.
I forget what it was. Like one of the 3 ones, I think, the superconducting hub. And I'm like, all right, yeah, game ends. Eat it. And I'm like, oh wait, no, actually, I'm going to hope you don't kill me this next turn.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. That was fun.
So overall, your decks, you still like them? Do you feel like it's time for a change, or, I mean, there will be a change, right? But
well, yeah, I think it's definitely time for a change. The Asmari deck, I still really enjoy playing, but it feels very fragile if your opponent knows what you're doing going into it. So one of the games that I lost the hardest on Crown of Servers, I sat down, my opponent said, oh, you're playing Asmari. How many cards are in your deck?
yeah, that's important to know.
And I said, oh, there's 44. And they said, okay, cool. You're not trying to kill me. And the game ended very quickly.
Right. Because they can just run stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And they just knew they could just throw haymakers, challenge everything. I don't have a lot of punishment. It's just about trying to create one scoring window where I can score that first king making, and then life gets easier.
I have never asked an opponent how many cards are in their deck. That's such good information. And what a difference that makes, right?
Well,
if you know that there's a popular archetype that runs a 40 card corp deck in Asmari, and it's like one of two things that could be that's popular. Yeah, that's a great question to have asked.
And I believe, I could be wrong, I believe you are actually allowed to count the number of cards in your opponent's deck as part of your cut of their deck. So you can just ask them and have them tell you to save everyone time. So
I've never even thought to ask that question. So
yeah.
Good on them.
But yeah, that was it for the games. But like for the people, gosh, I just had so many really fun rounds in general. That game I played against Riel, who was playing Riel.
Yes.
Was like super, super fun. I got very distracted because she kept telling me about like how tall redwoods are and things like this. Because she had just been up to see the redwoods before the tournament and then was like, they're like 300 feet tall. And then I sat there and thought like, that's taller than our 22nd floor hotel room. And then I kind of got quiet for a while. Right? Yeah. So that we could have just been looking out onto a tree. Yeah. So I don't know. That was a ton of fun. I'm trying to think of like other things. And I just stopped taking notes very quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's something on the travel vlog video that I put together. I went out, I packed a bag with all this gear and had the intention of filming a lot. Just about every clip I had ended up in that video. I didn't have anything extra, and I had, in fact, quite a bit less than I had hoped for. It's hard to like take a camera out and interrupt like the things that are going on around you to like record a thing. And just like that, you know, when you're in a Netrunner tournament, you finish a game, you kind of have to be very intentional about saying, okay, I am now going to write these things down and not go and just chat with friends and stuff. So
yeah,
I get it.
It was just a ton of fun all around, though. The one other one that I have in here from my notes is Stephen I, who went on to win the startup event on the next day. I was playing for, I think it was the next to last round, like round 10, I want to say. And I mentioned to him like, oh yeah, this is good. Because I lost this game, I don't now have to go buy that plushie. Because I told myself if I went 6-5, I would have to go buy myself the plushie Keiko.
The Keiko, yeah.
Yeah. And then Steven like went and got the plushie and found me. And now I have a Keiko on my dresser and it's amazing.
It's pretty great.
I love it.
Yeah. What a cool thing.
It's got like this one ear that just like sits over one of its eyes because it's like cool and emo. It's an emo Keiko. It's amazing. I love it.
That's like one of the only things that I didn't buy. There's some cards I didn't buy and a couple things, but I want the Keiko. But Dan B was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to have some Keikos back east if you don't want stuff in your bag. I was like, cool. All right, I'll get one from you later. Because I want it from the studio.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, you actually suggested that this one live in the studio. And I was like, no.
Yeah, you liked it too much. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's going to stay actually at my house. So I want to know what you got up to between commentary rounds, because there were a bunch of rounds like where you were not commentating, and I have a vague idea of what you were doing then.
There was a lot of rounds. So I spent a fair amount of that time going around and doing interviews of people in the community. Yeah. I interviewed 30 people in the community.
Really? Wow.
With the same 7 questions. And they're like 2 to 5 minutes long, generally speaking, and I'm going to cut them together for a video. I've started the edit process for that already, but a fair amount of my time between rounds was taken up by that, was helping out the stream while not on camera. So like running out to the table to ask someone to, you know, move a card or put a card on a mat. Yeah, I did that kind of stuff in between rounds. I did on the second day actually like hunt some people down and play some Netrunner with them. So it was fun. I got to play with Cobra Bubbles and Analyze Chris, just to do some actual Netrunner play with people, which was like a really nice time. I think that it was the first game of Netrunner that Cobra Bubbles had played like the whole weekend because he was judging the whole time. Yeah, that's it. That's the kind of stuff I got up to, besides like getting food and checking in with you guys when I could and buying alt arts. I was like haunting the leaving alt table. I was trying to like get into line to buy alts like, between rounds.
Like every time I saw you, you were either going towards or just leaving the artist colony.
Yeah, I bought a lot of stuff.
And I'm like, Eric, they're not adding more stuff.
They actually were adding some new stuff. Like day one, new cards had showed up. So that was cool. Well, we sold out of our bravados, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
All of the bravados got sold, and all of the poker chips, all 25 sets of poker chips got sold.
Wow.
Including the set that was on stream, which was pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So next question from the commentary side, aside from the finals, which, I mean, it's the finals, of course, but are there any like specific games that you'll remember or like you would be like, hey, you got to watch this. Like this was an excellent game of Netrunner that you commentated on that really stick out to you? Or like had a really cool deck that you weren't expecting or something like that?
This is one of the things. I'm glad that the games got recorded on VODs and are up there. And NSG's actually been putting these out the last couple of days, actually, as the individual games on their channel.
Oh, that's so good.
I was on the very first two games of the main event doing commentary with Juniper Theory. And I remember, so first of all, I went into the experience like being pretty nervous about having a bit of a imposter syndrome, struggling with my confidence on like, am I going to be able to speak intelligently about Netrunner and have people not kind of roll their eyes about the silly things that I'm saying, feeling somehow that I don't know enough about the game to be qualified to be on the casting and comms team for that.
Yeah.
So I was nervous about that. And I was on the first game and I was like, okay, here we go. And it was thankfully 419 versus PD. And I was like, okay, I can talk about this matchup. This makes sense. But I remember that morning, I pulled up the Crown of Servers stream footage and Jai was talking about an Earth Station deck. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't know how to talk about this ID at all. Like I've not seen it played in like a year and a half. And
yeah.
I would be like reading the ID on stream, which is kind of like, that was my nightmare. And so I was a little freaked out and it was like a 419 versus PD. And I was like, whew, okay, cool. I can talk about that. As far as answering your question, games like that you need to watch that I was on, I don't remember. I remember like the things that stick out in my memory. I remember there was a game where Santa was versus Sokka, and that game, Santa in the end was like trying to play for time, which was, you know, something that people have talked about a little bit and Santa's talked about. And it was weird because I couldn't figure out what was going on for a while because Santa just like put a million, I think there was like 5 or 6 ice on R&D at some point. And I was like, what is happening? And then I was like, oh, eventually it became apparent that it was like, oh, okay. He's just trying to win on time at this point.
Yep. And
so that was like a novel game. It was novel because they ran out of credits. Like my poker chip set that I supplied the stream did not have enough credits. We had to run out extra credits for them to use because they were on like 6. Sokka clicked for credits for like to go as fast as possible.
Oh, wow.
So many times that they reached, they both had like 67 credits or something at some point.
Jesus. So yeah, just trying to play hot potato with the turns at that point.
Basically. Yeah. Sokka was like, I don't need to do anything. Click for 4, go. You know, like, yeah, that was an interesting one. But I think obviously like finals for me. Finals was an hour and a half long. It was a motion picture length Netrunner game.
Right. But like at the same time, if that's going to be the finals to Worlds, like you're happy. It's not like one of those Super Bowls where it's like 3-42 or something, right? Like it's like 6-6. It's down to a single access. It's like, let's do it.
I could not believe after we finished doing the commentary, Andre asked me, he was like, how long did you think that game was? And I was like, 49, 55 minutes maybe. And he was like, an hour and a half. Like, oh, wow. Because it did. Yeah, I was just edge of my seat the whole time.
One last one from the tech side. What was like the hardest problem for you guys to solve? Because I imagine something had to have come up at some point, but normally I just kind of let that stuff slide over me and you do whatever you do. And then the stream starts.
So I think the hardest part of the whole stream was making sure we had everything we needed up front. Jeff and Kato and Worm and I all eventually got together on Discord. I I think it was probably like a week and a half before Worlds to put together the rental list of things that we were going to rent. And Jeff was kind of like, tell me what we need, because he's not super familiar with like rigging and lighting and stuff like that. And I'm only as familiar as I am with the stuff that I've looked up for my studio space.
Yeah.
And Kato and Warren both do this more professionally than I do. So like making sure we had enough XLR cables for the microphones and, enough lights for the table and enough C-stands and sandbags and stuff like that. And we got that list together. That was the biggest hurdle, was getting everything delivered. But then when we got there was still some power cables that we didn't have and like extension cords and things like that. And so we had to send people out to run and go buy cables. And it was like, I think there was like a PC that had, like the power plug 3-prong connector that goes to power your tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a grounded power cable. Like we couldn't find one.
Oh, wow.
And finding a place to buy one in San Francisco was like, what? And it was like the stupidest. It's always that kind of stupid stuff. I think during the actual stream, Kato and Worm handled everything so well. The first round of Crown of servers, there was a hiccup where like the Ingest server was on the other side of the country. So they switched it to a more local one to San Francisco. And after that, like all the tech issues were gone. They did a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're going a bit long. We asked our patrons, hey, do you have any questions that you have for us to answer about Worlds or anything really? In general, I want to make this a thing going forward. So if you join our Patreon before we record a podcast, we're going to just open the floor up for, patron Q&A. If you have a question as a patron, ask it and we'll put it in there. So that's one of the little bennies, one of the bennies you get for joining up. So the first one's from Lucille, who asks, are there things you weren't expecting at such a large event or wish you prepared better for? And I don't know if this means decks or just general experiences, but we can address both aspects. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, general experience-wise, I do wish I had planned out my Sunday better, because I was like, we're going to like go see, we tried to go see the bridge and we end up
Golden Gate.
missing. Yeah, we like missed the bus and would have had to wait for another hour. And then we were like, I guess we'll go play some startup. But like my whole plan for that day was like, let's just go wander San Francisco. I hear it's a nice city. And by the time of like Saturday, I was like, I do not want to wander San Francisco, actually.
Yeah.
So like we ended up just, I showed up, I built a deck really quickly for the startup event, just remaking Kingmaking in startup, which worked ish.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to play in any side events because I don't know. I just like didn't have it in my mind to be like, okay, here's my like priority list. I was just like, I guess I'll fall back on startup. And then I got into startup and talking to people and stuff. And I feel like with a little bit more preparation there, like one of the big things that I was disappointed to not play was the 4-player mainframe format that Milanomi is working on.
Yeah.
That looks so cool. I like got to sit and watch like part of a game between rounds, but I really wish I had had more of an opportunity to sit down and play that. So
yeah, we're going to have to try and figure out, like you were saying, some tech solution to stream a game of it here after we try a few.
Agreed.
Locally.
Agreed. So I guess that's like the big thing. And then
what about decks?
Yeah, I mean, so I ran into some weirder stuff in Crown of Servers, but I feel like that's it's very much a casual event. People are there in teams having fun.
Did you run into weird and like wild stuff in the main event?
Not that I can remember. There was like a Lou deck that I played against that was actually really giving the Kingmaking deck a lot of trouble because I couldn't keep cards in my hand because Lou.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But for the most part, when my opponent sat down and like after a couple of accesses or a couple of reses or whatever, I kind of knew what was going on with their deck. Even if I didn't know the full game plan because I hadn't like prepped against it. But
I make the mistake in tournaments often of seeing a couple of cards from like a known deck out there and kind of assuming, oh, that's this deck. And then I shut down the possibility of like, well, there might be some weird includes or swaps. Or it might be just like most of this other deck, but totally different in some other influence spends. And I would avoid doing that because it has gotten me into a lot of trouble. For me, I think a large event, just going to talk to people, finding space for yourself if you need to, but like things that I wasn't expecting, I don't think so. I do wish that we had paid more money for flights that weren't so freaking early
Yes.
on both ends. That would have been nice, but like, we're trying to save costs, and I think a lot of people probably will be in that boat. It helps to justify these big expenses for, flying out for a card game when it's not that expensive for flights.
Yeah.
But I don't think that'll be a problem for Lucille for
going to UK Nets. Yeah.
No. Next question is from Kevin H. Did you run the same decks for COS as the main tourney? We did already address this, but
yes, asked and answered, Kevin. Jeez.
More timely question asking, please.
God, Kevin,
That's
you
funny.
should have known that I would have already answered that when you asked this several hours ago.
And I wrote this down and then asked it.
Yeah.
I should not have asked it during the episode, but that's okay.
Come on.
And then the last one we got was from Plural, it's not a question for us really, but a question for the audience. And I guess it's kind of for us. Poll for Netrunner players that got to or from the venue in a hopper / Waymo ride, which is the self-driving cars.
Yeah, those are wrong.
Did you take any of them?
No.
I did not.
No. I'm morally opposed. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm morally opposed, but when I see a car driving itself, it is wrong. It is incorrect.
That's a lot of people's reaction, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I don't even just mean that oh, wow, that's weird. Oh, it's cool that they're doing it. I'm just no, stop it. Go back.
It's scary. It's scary to me to see it, but it is the future. It's going to happen, I think.
Yeah. I would even be okay with that future. I just don't. What I want is for those cars, when we have self-driving tech, I don't want windows on my car. Full
sketchy?
Self-driving, everything self-driving. I don't want to see the crazy things that the car is doing that I might not do.
I got motion sickness problems with that, man. I that's going to be an issue. If I'm just in a trunk being hurtled around, no thank you.
I mean, sure, just don't ride in my car because I am painting over the windows.
Okay. If you took one of those and you're listening to this, leave a comment or something. Send us an email or a DM. You can do it. We believe in you.
We do.
Wow, let's go ahead and have some quality time. It's quality time. I forget how it goes.
Do we have a separate song for that?
Yeah, it's the one I sang, and then I made the jingle up and made you listen to. Wow, cool! You remember that thing we did?
Love it, love
this
it.
Is the official segment where we talk about fun non-Netrunner stuff. Nick, what you been up to besides Netrunner?
I have been reading a book. This is one of the many things that my brain has decided to focus on recently. I've been reading a book on early Christianity. Specifically, I got really interested a while ago as to how Christianity settled on the Trinity, which is an absolutely baffling theological doctrine that I do not understand and can only explain to you in terms of what it isn't and not what it is. So I started reading stuff about
it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Right. Okay. But they're all God, but they're different people.
It's pretty, come on.
Nope. You didn't. Nope. Is that one God just he puts on a different hat when he does different things? Because that's heresy.
Did you grow up religious?
No, but I did go to 10 years of Catholic school, which is a long story.
Wait, I asked the question and then you said no, but then you said that thing.
So yeah, my family was not religious, but my parents decided for a variety of reasons to send me to Catholic school, me and my brothers. So from third grade on, I went to Catholic school. So I was very exposed to religion, but I was also the odd unbaptized kid out.
That's super awkward.
Oh, it was great. Let me tell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must have been some fun moments.
It was interesting.
Well, I will tell you, as a boy who grew up going to church and did all the church things, and then eventually getting involved with a woman who just said like, hey, do you believe in God? And then me having to actually think about that for the first time. It's just a thing you accept. It's just the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost.
Well, no.
You know?
So, but
you just have, they're just there. And they're all God. Yeah, sure. Yep.
Right. But okay.
Makes sense.
No, because there's so many questions.
I know.
Okay.
No, I know. You're supposed to
up.
not ask them, though. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes. No, but like people did. And like people got like killed over the answers to those questions and stuff. Like they like burned libraries over having the wrong answer.
Isn't religion great?
Anyway, it's the book that I'm reading is called Lost Christianities by Bart Ehrman, which is just like it's looking at a couple of different early branches of Christianity. So one of them is like basically saying that Christianity is like just Judaism with a slight addition onto it. So they're all like hyper Orthodox Jews who also like Jesus. And another one is like, actually, the Jews were entirely wrong about everything and Christianity is completely different. So we reject everything Jewish. And then there's Gnostics in there. And it's basically just talking about like all their different texts that they found in the last like couple hundred years and how they're all weird and much different from what we expect, but also like could have been the canon of the like Nicene church if things had gone a little bit differently.
Our quality time segments are going to be pretty different.
Okay.
I don't read, first of all, I don't read books. I listen to them read to me. And second of all, they're always fiction. Almost always fiction. This has been like a recent turn for me, like history stuff. So like I read a biography of Lafayette, Marquis de Lafayette last year. And then I was just like, I keep reading like Wikipedia pages about this stuff. I should read like an actual book. Yeah, so, you're a Wikipedia fiend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Any other good stuff?
I mean, that's the big one. I've been playing a lot of Diablo. Otherwise, it passes time. Yeah, time passes while you're playing it.
And then the day is over.
Yep. And then it is time for bed.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of
how about
to some extent. Yeah. How about me?
Yeah. How about you?
Slay the Spire. I hit Ascension 20, and that's feels somewhat similar. Where it's like, well, it's 40 minutes too early to go to bed, but this game's too hard. This game's too hard. Let's just do Slay the Spire. It's also very hard, but it's also pretty digestible in that amount of time.
You started playing Slay the Spire, like I played it a bunch before you started playing, and I was like, I know Slay the Spire pretty well. And I have never gotten even close. I think like my highest one is like Ascension 11 or 12, I want to say, on the Silent.
Here's the key, is eventually you do it. You just keep playing, and eventually you get to the next level.
Oh, so wait. So you aren't skillful at Slay the Spire. You are the infinite monkeys. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, wait, what did you call me? The infinite what?
Infinite monkeys. You know, infinite monkeys on infinite typewriters will eventually beat Slay the Spire, Ascension 20, and kill the heart.
That's what I feel like.
That old saying.
I definitely had to have some skill when it came down to it, but a few of my higher level wins were definitely like, I stumbled into the best deck possible out of brute force and sheer doggedness. But
so I got really frustrated with that game because I kept thinking that you should be killing the heart every time you.
Oh, I've never killed the heart. I'm going to try that now.
See, like, yeah, that feels weird. Like, because I've never killed the heart either. But like, I don't know. I always play silent decks, and I really love like spamming the shivs.
Yeah.
And turns out playing a bunch of like 1 billion zero cost cards is not good against a thing that hurts you every time you play a card.
So it's funny. I think I've gotten to the heart once.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, you know what? Let's just focus on Ascension 20. And so that's what I've been doing. Anyway, that was with Ironclad, and I'm on like 13 on the Silent and something like 4 on the Defect. I'm working on the Defect because it's more fun, but kind of slowly as I feel more interested in it. I finished the Feast of Hemlock Vale with Johnny. That was a cool campaign. I have gripes about the story aspects of that campaign, where it's the kind of thing, if you're an Arkham player, you might know Scarlet Keys was similar, where it's like you kind of got to know how to play this campaign before you play it, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. It's like the second time around is good, but the first time around, unless you know some basic stuff that they could have just had, like hey, do you want some mild spoilers, mechanical spoilers? Like, okay, I'm just going to say it here. If you don't want any spoilers for Arkham, for Hemlock Vale, stop listening. But they're mild mechanical and they will make your experience better. You want to have at least two relationship level with the villagers. Otherwise, they're all useless. You can build relationship kind of like in Stardew Valley with the villagers in this campaign. You can get like hearts basically with them. And if you don't get at least 2 with somebody, 1 means nothing for, I think, every one of them. And some of them need 3 for them to like do the thing and like trigger the thing.
Right.
But Johnny and I got like 1 with a bunch of people and like 2 with one of them, and none of them did anything for us. And I was like, great, thanks. Glad we didn't waste all of our time.
Yeah, just like a whole bunch of effort put into that, just gone.
Thematically, though, I loved the campaign. Loved it. It was my favorite theme. It was, the Midsummer thing. I love the A24 film Midsummer. I've talked about it on here before. I
still have to see that.
It's Nick.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
And then we could play Arkham and do it good. I know you're not really.
We could.
Yeah. And I think I've officially entered my video editing era. I had
noticed that, honestly.
Yeah, I'm so into video editing right now. I'm having a great time with it. I released the Common Mistakes video where I tried my best to do like a shut up and sit down tone video where I wrote a script out and I tried to do it without a teleprompter or any of that, and edited it together. And that was very fun and it was very rewarding. A lot of people seem to like that video a lot. Appreciate that. That's nice. And then this travel vlog video, I was like, okay, cool. I'm into this. This is fun. And so I'm in the process right now of selling a bunch of gear, like guitar pedals that I haven't been using, to get a quite nice camera. I'm selling the camera, which was a Fuji X-T4 for the camera nerds in the audience. I'm in the process of selling that to get what am I getting? As a Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II. It's the camera I want to get. I'm excited because that has some features that make me jazzed about taking video, and I've got ideas, and Nick and I are working on a Learn to Play for Netrunner.
Yes.
I'm saying that publicly so that we follow through with it, goddammit, because it's been in the works for a while. But
I think we're out of other projects to distract.
There was other projects, and then there was like technical limitations. I was like, I don't know, I kind of want like this another DSLR or something, so we can get multiple angles. And we got that. And then I had other things in the burner. So Neon Static, I alluded in the beginning of the episode that we'd talk about what's in the future for Neon Static. And the answer is I'm going to continue to explore, at least for the video editing side. I'm going to say because Nick doesn't do the video editing.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to explore what inspires me. And I am currently very inspired by a lot of creators. I've discovered a YouTube channel called Digital Spaghetti, which is run by Jack Conti, the CEO of Patreon, who's also like a huge creator nerd. He interviews a bunch of like successful YouTube videos or YouTube channel creators that he respects. And I've been super inspired by watching those and hearing about how these people are making awesome stuff and legitimate art with like an iPhone. And, like you don't need all this shit that I have, which I'm happy to have, and it inspires me to pick it up and to use it, but you don't need it. And so I'm jazzed to like make stuff. I want to make videos. I want to keep doing these podcasts, and I love our live streams. I would not give them up for the world, but in the meantime, in the background stuff, I'm going to continue to experiment and find out what makes things fun. So that's, yeah.
And so this was one of the things that I came away from Worlds with too. I have often said, and I think it remains largely true, that you do a lot more work on Neon Static than I do. And I think I would like to start putting in a little more effort just on the parts that I can do, which I feel like are probably on the writing and that kind of side of things.
Yeah.
Because the technical side is super not my thing. Yeah, I've got many ideas for the script and how to structure the learn to play, and then that's kind of like got me spinning off from there into other ideas that I'm kind of toying with. So
the inspiration help, like having an inspiration buddy, is so valuable. It's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And for like if you're jazzed about like writing scripts, I am so freaking on board with that. It's amazing. So yes. Hooray.
Yeah.
Neon Static is full steam ahead. Netrunner's great. That's a wrap for episode 20 of Neon Static. We've been your hosts, Eric
and Nick.
Please send us feedback, thoughts, discussion topics, or voice memos if you have any thoughts on this podcast or our channel in general or the game of Netrunner or life. We can be contacted by email at neonstaticpod@gmail.com, neonstaticpod on Instagram or Mastodon, and our handles on Discord are Canister and Gallbrander. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch notifications for our bi-weekly in-person streams. And if you enjoy our content, please considering doing the joining of the Patreoning at patreon.com/neonstatic.
So many gerunds.
What's a gerund?
It's when you got an ing at the end. Joining is a gerund, whereas join is a verb. I
didn't know there was a word for that. That wasn't. Wow.
It's the noun form of a verb.
Wow. The more you know.
Come on, man. Pay more attention in 9th grade English.
Let me just go back and fix that.
Yeah, man. Let's sit down and diagram some sentences here.
Oh, yeah. We haven't talked long enough.
Well, thanks for listening, folks.
And remember to run with your eyes closed, because what you can't see can't hurt you.
Indeed.
The burlap sack fit neatly over the tourniquet.
What?
Did it make sense? I just chose words that had enunciation points.
That sounds dark.
I did it so super murdery.
So let's get right into spec.
Well, I mean, like, actually, hold on a second.
Wait.
Maybe we don't do the little roll thing, but like Arizon is the national, not national, the world champion of Netrunner. Oh, that was ugly. Should we do a quick? Do we do the? No, right?
No edits. No edits.
God, I'm gonna edit this. This is too ugly.
Yeah, I'm aware. And then you're gonna put it in at the end as like a joke. Ha ha ha! Look at how ugly it was, guys. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny?
It is funny. We're not going to do a proper news cycle, but no, you have to stop laughing because then they're going to go, why is he laughing?
Sorry.